So today we're going to be going over the City of Smithville project's requirements for part three. Um, so the first requirement is going to have you create an Excel worksheet for the general fund pre-closing subsidiary ledger account balances for the year 2020. Um, you're going to need this to be able to create the actual requirements of the project. Um, and those actual requirements are a statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance for the general fund for the year ended December 31st, 2020. The second requirement is going to be a schedule of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance, budget and actual, for the year ended December 31st, 2020. And then finally, we're going to just make a reconciliation of total expenditures reported um, for the last requirement. Um, so to get that first sheet we need, you're going to want to go and export um, the pre-closing subsidiary ledger to Excel. And to do that, you just go to File, down to Export, and then here it is right here. Once you do that, it's going to look something like this. Operating statement of account balances. It pops out your estimated revenues, actual revenues, balances for the estimated revenues or for the revenues. And then you have your appropriations down here, which pops out encumbrances, expenditures, and appropriations, and then finally the account balances for those. So to go on to the first sheet or the first requirement of the project, you're going to want to go into the government accounting book for the course and basically follow example 4.5 to get the formatting of the statement. And then we're just basically going to bring in the revenues or the estimated revenues, no, actual revenues, I'm sorry, into and populate the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balances right here. And we're going to get total revenues of $3,970,673. And then we're going to take expenditures right here. And then we're going to bring and populate the expenditures in the statement as well to get $3,944,222. And then right here, we're just going to get the excess of revenues over expenditures. There were no interfund transfers in or out, so it's not really relevant. And then this was the change in fund balance. So we're going to take the fund balance of the beginning of year, or the fund balances, this is a total figure, and we're going to add back the change in fund balances to get the fund balances for December 31st, 2020. And then for the second requirement, we're going to be making the schedule of revenues and expenditures and changes in fund balances, budgeted and actual. So basically what we're going to do here is, again, populate the revenues and expenditures and encumbrances. For the original amount, it's going to be the estimated revenues right here. And then down here, it's going to be the appropriations. And then we sum them both, so we're able to get the difference or excess of expenditures over revenues. And then we had no other financing sources or decreases in encumbrances in the budget. And then down here, we get the increase, and then we add it back to, or no, we sum these two to get the fund balance at the end of the year for 2020. And then final, it's the same exact thing, or the same exact numbers over here. The original and the final are the same because there was no changes in the budget during the year. So these are going to look exactly the same. And then we go over to actual amounts of budgetary basis, and this is going to be the actual revenues and the encumbrances and expenditures summed. So as we see here, it's actual revenues, and then these are summed down here to get the actual expenditures and encumbrances. And then we go through and sum them again to get the excess of expenditures over revenues. And then there was a decrease in encumbrances of $65,065. And we will sum these two to get an increase of $26,451 added to the fund balance at the beginning of the year to get $448,000 and $448,745. And then finally, we have the variances, which equal the balances for both right here. And yeah, these are just variance check figures basically. And then finally, for the last requirement of the project, we're going to take the expenditures for 2020 budgetary basis, which is the total expenditures for total expenditures and encumbrances for the actual amounts. And then we're going to less the encumbrances outstanding to get the GAAP basis for expenditures for 2020. And then that should fulfill all the requirements of the project. Thank you.